I would like to begin this talk with a question. What does it mean to be human? Oftentimes, we can understand where we are through how we got there. We can make sense of the present by understanding the past. So, to answer this question today, allow me to take you on a journey back to our roots. 43,000 years ago, sapiens were cave people. We were focused on making fire, finding food, finding shelter, and capturing all of this life on our cave walls. So early in our development, we had the need for storytelling to educate the younger ones in our group, teach them the ways of life, the beauties, and the dangers. This is a common narrative we know. We made art because we cared. However, when we saw Neanderthals as a threat to our resources, what some historians would call our sisters and our brothers and our siblings, a competition for survival began. We became hunters, hunting out of fear, hunting to survive and for food, and also hunting to eliminate our rivals. We survived, they went extinct. And with that, our story prevailed and theirs didn't. We took ownership of their caves, their art, and with that, their history became written by the winners, us. This cycle of fear leading to competition, leading to attempts at eliminating the competition, has happened so many times throughout history. Today, we would call this oppression. Leading from this prehistoric fear of being afraid of being put in a position where we are vulnerable or we have less, we decide to act upon it. And this raises the next question. How much have we actually evolved? We do the similar things for the similar reasons. Historically, humans have always fought for resources. Have we always needed to be this inferior? And have we always needed to gain power through exerting it on someone else, through suppressing the minority until it disappears or dilutes in society? This is not a side of our nature. It's something that we have developed. Our nature is what defines our core as humans. Our nature is the instinct to care. We made art as cave people because we cared, we loved, and we were creative. There are many examples of societies that lead based on these values and do not rely on targeting, silencing, suppressing a group to create a them to bring people closer to us and gain possessive control, but instead focus on working for everyone. I come from Serbia. On November 1st, 2024, the canopy of the train station in Novi Sad collapsed, killing 16 victims, 100 kilometers from the capital. 19 months later, there is still no official investigation outcomes. The tragedy, the deaths, the chain reactions by the population, and the initial reactions by the Serbian government led to the longest student strike in modern European history, reports Raul Gallego Belan in his documentary, Point of No Return. But these protests weren't like anything we've seen before. Instead of having a hierarchical structure where the leader is concentrated in a decision-making circle and represents the majority, the students decided to implement a flat hierarchical structure. This meant that decisions were made together through plenums where everyone's opinion was equally included, and the final decision was represented through the group and not an individual. This allowed them to make many small actions that together changed the system from the root level and not only on a surface area. Throughout the history of Serbia, there have been attempts at similar protests, but they often didn't give the desired results. With time, these changemakers began to feel hopeless, and you could often hear expressions like, "What's the point of trying if nothing will get better?" To reawake these miserable citizens, and quite literally bring the country to its feet, the students would invest their time and walk hundreds of kilometers from one town to the next to educate individuals and talk to them and express their understanding and help for the communal suffering of the nation. This is why when they would come into a town, Students would often be greeted with tears. They represented some of the last hope of the people expecting them. The students led from the core of what makes us human, caring for our collective well-being, respecting all of us as equals, and reconnecting us with a society that values kindness and compassion. They reawoke the sanctity in people, the respect for life that had been in a deep and long sleep, out of the hopelessness. People would cry because they were finally being told, "You are not alone. We are in this together." They gave the people something to belong to, for a greater good, and when they led from this instinct, it was better for everyone. The power is given to the people. It is in the people, and that's what makes these movements unstoppable. We have to be connected by our stories, individual and collective, and not separated by them. Yet, how is it that such massive and exhausting movements have to happen? When did we become so disconnected? I always had a theory that everyone looks through life with their own lenses, and as things happen, they shape the eyes through which we see the world. For example, my aunt is a smoker, and when I was little, I didn't understand why she would do it, because I knew that smoking was bad. But my mom explained to me that it's just because she didn't have the strength to fight giving it up. This gave me the lens of empathy. I now saw people, smokers and people with addictions in general, as people who needed a helping hand and understanding more than judgment. Another example. I moved countries in 3rd grade, and being new, a girl who saw me walk into the cafeteria pulled a chair to an already full table so I wouldn't have to sit alone. This gave me the lens of kindness. I wanted people to feel seen and safe around me like I did around her. Lens can also carry negative things. I moved again when I was 12, and this time it wasn't so easy. I found it difficult to find a place where I belonged, and I was bullied. And just how the other lens formed reactions. Through empathy, I will have more understanding for others. Through kindness, I will make myself a person people feel seen and safe around. This one did too. The lens I formed was pain, and through pain, I will distance myself from people who made me feel like when I was 12. Every experience shapes a lens, and we see through all of our lenses at once. When they overlap, this is what makes my story and makes it mine, and it's also what shapes my understanding of other stories. Now, our lenses are not the same as our core. Today, we have used what we know from our lenses and the experiences we have gained to cheat each other, manipulate each other, and make a world that moves so fast it feels like a dumpster fire being thrown into your face on most days. I know that in that moment, what I would do is try to protect my core, because it is the most precious, purest thing I have. My lens would recognize that this is not a moment in which I'm safe, and I have to hide so that my inner self doesn't get hurt. This is what has happened to all of us. We have built stone-hard, protective layers around our cores, so much that we have become detached. When our core doesn't have a place to shine through, then our predatory side will take over. We won't be based off of kindness, love, beauty, strong human core values, the connection of a community based on the love we have for each other, but instead, we will be based off of the hate we have for them, the rivalry, the threat. This is why the students had to wake people up. We were stuck in a scary cycle because hurt people will go and hurt people. On the other hand, we are all still made of the same things, and deep down, we all need the same change to happen. So, how do we get over that bump of overwhelmness, over that hardship of making that next step? After all the massive student protests, in Serbia, the results are still to come. I found it quite hard to make a final call to action for the audience because there is no textbook solution for something like this. But then my supervisor recommended the Belonging and Othering Institute, which has a very inspiring article on the seeds of belonging, which I think can be brought to light through the central quote by Dino Christianopoulos: "They tried to bury us, they did not know we were seeds." What I think this is trying to say is that making a change is a marathon, not a sprint. What brings that motivation and that drive to make the next step is knowing that taking the action is enough. Behind every movement, every uprising, the people who are standing here today and made the change are there because they are standing on the dreamers' shoulders. So planting our seed, and that being the maximum of our capacities right now, is enough. We can be at peace in knowing that one day someone will be standing on our shoulders. Whether we are there to see it or not, something will grow out of our seed. I asked people to define our core, what human meant for them. The answers I got were truly beautiful: music, sanctity, dignity, decency. And these are exactly values that have prevailed with us from our roots. We are fundamentally empathic, kind, persevering, curious, creative. Deep down, we are driven by making. So the question is, what will we choose to make? A society that wants people and creates people that are there to make and not survive. As cave people, we didn't make art or tools or clothing when we were starving and under attack. We made them when we were safe and full. We need to live in a world where people are safe and full, where they can make what their hearts desires, and where they can keep their lens a beautiful color. So I ask you today, again, what does it mean to be human? As cave people, we were artists because we cared, and hunters out of fear. It might seem scary, but we cannot let that fear take over. We need to find ways to develop constantly, view and respond to threats differently. We can unite ourselves out of care, too, like the students, planting seeds of humanness instead of hate, and honoring the ones we have grown from. Today, I hope I have reminded you to reconnect with your core and live your life a little more human every day.